31st of January, Britain leaves the EU, but that doesn't mean Brexit is done. In fact, you'll still be hearing quite a lot about it for the rest of the year. That's because the UK now enters a transition period that is scheduled to go on until the 31st of December. During that period, the UK will stay closely aligned with the EU, effectively staying within the single market and customs union, but we will no longer be a member of the political institutions. That means no more MEPs, representation or a role in the decision-making aspects of the EU. During the transition period, the UK is free to negotiate trade deals with countries across the world. There's already been talk about agreements with the US and Japan, but it's a trade deal with the EU which is likely to take centre stage. The UK and the EU have agreed that a free trade agreement will be the priority in the talks. But if both sides want to get everything done by this December, when the transition period is scheduled to come to an end, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. March 1st is the date the EU has set to have its own negotiating position agreed. At that point, the European Commission will have legal authorisation to start negotiating with the UK. In June, there's due to be a summit where Britain and the 27 EU countries will discuss the progress of the trade talks. That month is also the deadline for the UK to request an extension to the transition period beyond the current December 2020 deadline, if the UK wants it. November 26 is the cut-off date the EU has provided for the trade deal to be agreed, so that MEPs in the European Parliament can give their final approval. In practice, that leaves only about 6 months to negotiate the future relationship between the UK and the EU. If the UK doesn't agree terms to a new trade deal with the EU and hasn't asked for an extension to the transition period, then on the 31st of December, Britain will revert back to World Trade Organization rules, which would be the same outcome as a no-deal Brexit. So a lot of work to be done over the next few months.